Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. And now, here are Bob and Richard.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Our guests today are Frank B. and Anthony Curtis. This is our annual Super Bowl prop bet show. In addition, a couple other topics we want to talk about. Mattress Mac is back in town. A couple years ago, he made big bets and had Anthony and Frank help him get him down. And this time, they're doing it again. So how's this year different than 2 years ago?
Well, a couple years ago, he had run a gigantic promotion for his furniture store. He's got a store called Galaxy Furniture in Houston. And he typically will pick a Houston team or personality. And if that personality does something good, an athlete, or if the team wins something like it was the Astros to win the World Series, everybody who bought furniture under this promotion would get their money back or some version of that promo. Well, out of the blue this year, back just a couple of weeks ago, he contacted us and told us he wanted to do a Super Bowl a promotion, and asked how we would recommend that he structure it. And we all talked it over, and we decided that we would just give his customers a chance to pick a team, and later changed our mind and made it Tampa Bay. And that's where it sits right now, is that everybody who's bought furniture from him in the last few weeks, and it's a lot because he does big volume business, can get their money back if Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the Super Bowl. So Frank and I are charged with figuring out how to hedge that bet for him. So if Tampa wins and all the people get their money back, he's going to make as much back on the Super Bowl bets. This year is a little bit different from when we had the Astros, and the Astros were big favorites all the time. This time we've got the underdog, and we are hunting for and getting plus 3.5 on Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which gives Mack a chance to win both ways. Not only could Tampa Bay lose, and he does not have to give the furniture money back, but Tampa Bay could actually win the game by cover the spread with the 3.5, and Mack would win both ways.
Yeah. So we discussed actually what team for him to have when it was down to the Final Four in the NFL. We quickly determined it's Tampa Bay, and we got what we wanted. And the reason we wanted that is because Tampa Bay would be the dog, and we would have that the latitude there to choose the type of bet that we want, and most hopefully get 3 or even 3.5, because if we're able to get the 3.5, Mack has a 13% probability of scooping the whole deal, winning his bet, but Tampa Bay loses the game because it lands on 1, 2, or 3. Now, if we wait too long and maybe the line drops to 3, that drops his scoop probability to 4.5%, where the other 8.5% then turns into a push. So 3.5 is a big deal to a lot of people out there, and it's a real big deal to us and Mack. So that's what we're looking for.
Even if you only can find 3, they will allow you to buy up to 3.5. Would that be worth it to Mack to do so?
That is a good question. So, like, if you ask that of somebody who's an AP bettor, you say, well, it all depends on how much additional juice you got to pay to do that. Now, the 3 is worth people debate on the precise cost, but a lot of guys settle at around 22% to buy on or off the 3. So books will charge you anywhere from 20, 25, even 30%. It's 30 cents at some places. And like I said, from an AP perspective, no, it's not a good buy. But does he want that? I don't know. My first inclination is to say no. We don't want to pay through the nose just to create a bigger middle area. But that's why we're going out of our way to make sure that we can track down and get down on the 3.5 before the line moves.
Well, also, as Frank mentioned, when they were at the Final Four and they were playing the championships, the league championships, to see who went to the Super Bowl, we posited that the best matchup for us would be Chiefs against Bucks. That would be able to get something like the 3.5, and that's sort of what we're seeing. We got that matchup, and we're seeing that there's a lot of money coming in on the Chiefs, apparently, because the books are, they're not. A lot of them are staying at the 3.5 point right now. That works out real well for us, where we don't have to buy anything. We just go naturally with the market, because a lot of places need to balance their books with Bucks money, and that's exactly what we hope for.
Yeah, hopefully they really do need it to the degree that's being advertised. Because early in the week here, I'm hearing from the books that they are 91% Chiefs money so far. That's a lot, and that's going to take a lot to offset that. And I hope that's a true number. A lot of times I don't believe those quotes because they're always so ridiculously lopsided. But let's hope that it's 2/3 or more Chiefs money so far, and they'll be more receptive to taking the Tampa bet.
Well, also in baseball, you guys had to do an enormous amount of running around, and a lot of places wouldn't take much action. But on the Super Bowl, you may be able to do this whole thing in one bet, right?
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. When Mack contacted me first, and I contacted Frank, and I said, here's what he wants to do. And Frank goes, this is a walk in a park compared to what we did, with the Astros game. First of all, we're talking about baseball versus football, and we're talking about the Super Bowl, which is the biggest single betting event on the planet, once a year. So we knew that we were going to be able to much more easily be able to get down what we need to get down. And also working into that is that's only a fraction, even though it's in the millions and the multiple millions, it's a fraction of what we had to do during the baseball play.
Yeah, the biggest decision that had to be made through all this was pretty much how to structure the promo so that he was able to engineer it so that he would need the underdog in the Super Bowl. That was our objective going in. So, after that, this is infinitely simpler than the baseball stuff.
And it's kind of important to say, too, on this, is that Mack, being the businessman that he is and the promoter that he is, he wants his customers to win. So, he would like to see Tampa Bay win. He doesn't want to lose his money. That's why we're hedging it. He'll get his money back and he'll make his profit. But Frank and I are charged with doing the best we can for him. So he does our bidding. When we tell him how we want him to bet, we're trying to set him up to win it all. So while he's going to be rooting for Tampa Bay to win and essentially break even in a big way because of his promotions and all, we're going to be rooting for the cover, for the loss and cover. And he'll be happy enough, I guarantee you.
Are you taking any money line on Tampa Bay?
No, that's not the preferred way to go with this. And Mack, in addition to being a tremendous businessman, listen, he likes to gamble. He's a gambler, and he likes this approach that we're doing so that everybody can win. What was his slogan? Get it all, win it all, or something like that. Yeah, he wants to win it all here. So this is the best course of action for him.
All right, let's shift subjects. Frank, you live in Mexico now.
I do.
How is gambling different in Mexico than it is in the United States?
Well, I moved to Mexico over the last couple of years slowly, and it was not for gambling reasons. It was more of a lifestyle thing. But you end up in the casinos. There's about the same number of casinos in Mexico per capita as there are in the United States. And they do things a lot differently. And one of the things that they do is you are taxed in order to help the casinos pay their share of their fixed percentage that is their gaming tax, which is I think it's 10% of their win settled over a long period. They charge the customers daily a tax if they win anything. So how it works is everybody has to play off of a slot card, okay, a player's card, and you have to, every buy-in that you do has to be recorded on, or else you can't play. So you can't play without a card. And so you record your buy-in. And at the end of the day, when you cash out, if you won prior to 2021, you were taxed 7% of what you won. Sounds pretty steep. And it is. And that translates over to sports betting. And on the sports betting side of it, you are taxed 7% of each event that you bet on that wins, the win amount. So in effect, think about it like this. You're laying 110 to win 93. It's pretty daunting. And what that equates to is I think you're laying about 118. So just imagine if America went from everything from 110 to 118. It wouldn't be so great. But due to the pandemic, casino business is down, tax revenue is down, and they felt the need to raise the tax rate for 2021. And when I showed up the first time at a casino and they laid it out for me, like what the new rules were and what the new rates were, it was a bit shocking. So imagine you go to the cage and you get your chips. You want to play blackjack, for example, and you get $1,000, and they hand you 956. They would do that because one of the new rules is that you get taxed on your buy-in now at the rate of 4.44%. And right then, I had a problem with that, but that wasn't the end of the bad news. On the back end, if you win, the tax is 9% of your win. Yeah. Now
this is worse than the card rooms in L.A.
Right. Yeah. It's a big money grab. But you guys know the average gambler. A lot of them don't care. I remember when the first day that I was at the cage, I'm trying to talk to the casino manager or the cage manager about this. I'm going, really? I go, you guys understand that a lot of people are not going to go for this. It's overdoing it. It's too much. And at that very moment, I turned around and there was this, millennial type in line with the baseball kind of hat, kind of cockeyed. I go, nobody's going to go along with that. And I look at him and he can't wait to get the catch. I go, except for him. He goes, yep. He was ready to step up to the window, get his chips, get taxed, and then go to work in the casino. So, it really is a daunting thing. And on the back end, when you cash out, you start to think, how is it that I would go about structuring my cash outs to try to minimize this tax? Because you can actually make it worse.
Do you have to cash out?
So here's what happens. If you don't cash out, let's imagine worst case scenario. You go and you buy $1,000 worth of chips. They give you your $9.56. Your wife calls and says, there's a tarantula in the bathroom. Get your ass up right now. Okay, so you leave. You don't play. When you return the next day and you maybe you don't want to play, you try to cash in. You're getting taxed 9% because the clock reset at midnight. And since you didn't buy in on that subsequent day, you bought in for $0, you cashed out $9.56, they're going to give you 91% of that. So you really have to
made a bet.
Yeah, you have to think about how you're going to organize things and structure your gambling if you're going to be there doing it day after day. Now, playing the table games, what I came to realize is once I got ahead, you only cash out what you bought in for, and you rat hole the rest for future use. Because you're going to get taxed on that one way or another, and if you end up coming back and losing it, well, you dodge the tax. So you want to accumulate a stockpile of chips. That, along with a more riskier strategy, is making friends with losing bettors that are so that when the time at the end of the day comes and it's time to cash out, maybe you won, but if he lost, they cash out my chips up to the amount that you lost, because it won't be taxed. So, it ends up being a interesting question, like how you handle it, and if you're playing something that's that good that you can overcome that taxation. But that's how it works, and it's different in every state. In Baja and Baja Sur, they tax you in the sports book 7% of what you cash the ticket for. So same situation. You go in, you bet $110 on a game, and the game gets postponed, or let's make it a push. The game's a push. So you go back to get your 110. You don't get 110 back. You get 110 times 0.93.
Yeah, which makes it.
So every state's different, but yeah, it's really a difficult thing to gamble in Mexico because of the.
Yeah, anybody who pays attention would realize that, except in extreme circumstances, you really can't play because you're just almost guaranteed to lose over the long run. You can't beat that kind of vig. But what's important also is they're not just doing that in Mexico. They got the same mindset right here in Vegas, and you would expect that coming out of the pandemic, that everything would get cheaper and better and looser to bring people in. And they're taking the other tack. They're going in the other direction. They're raising limits. They're making the games tougher in terms of rules and things like that. I've talked to a number of people in the casinos. I go, why are you doing this? This doesn't make any sense. And they're like, because in so many words, some of them are very, straightforward about it, and others talk around it. But they go, the people that are coming to the casinos are the people that are the biggest junkies, and they don't care. And they're going to play no matter what, so we're going to gouge them. And that's what's going on. That's how the casinos are thinking. I'm shocked by it, but I see evidence of it again and again and again. Not as blatant as this Mexico example, but certainly that's the way that they're playing it.
Well, they're also getting stingier with the promotional stuff, which is the opposite of what you would expect during
absolutely
the pandemic.
Everything. Yeah, we had a terrible time with member rewards for Las Vegas Advisor this year. Now, our member rewards are still good because we retained almost all of our gambling coupons, which that's what everybody wants anyway. But they don't want to give away anything to the average customer who's going to come in and want to get a buffet and give them a 2-for-1, and maybe they get something of them off the gaming. They want to give it to the gambler, the kind of guy who's going to come in, play his match play, and stay there anyway, and keep playing more and more and more. So we were able to do real well with match play. We could get nothing back. I mean, Station Casinos is out completely. They would not give us. I said, how about a drink at the bar? And they're like, nope, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's the mindset out there because they're being seduced by the fact that during the pandemic, when they were able to open up, they had far fewer people coming in, but their win per person was gigantic because it was all the degenerates, you know. It was the people that were going to gamble that were jonesing for it so badly that they just had to play. And they're failing to look ahead to know that these people can't last and can't sustain them over time.
Yeah. Bob, you've done and observed countless promotions over the years. And
yes.
In the situation that we have right now, isn't it obvious that the type of promotion they should design is the type that you get rewarded more the more you play? Because what they need is customers that are, big coin in people, or, they don't want these hit and run types. They if they get a customer, they want them to be a solid customer that runs a lot of coin or chips through the place. Doesn't that make sense?
It does, and many casinos have a tier structure where, to use the Harris example, you're platinum and then diamond and then 7 stars, and you move up there and you get different rewards for all of that, and they have promotions for the different tier levels. But many of the casinos, like he mentioned Stations, they cut their slot club in half and then some, and took out their the games the low roller hustlers played, the full pay deuces, and it's very player unfriendly. Boyd was not a lot different, but they reduced the size of their multipliers. You get single points, but only after you've earned 750 tier credits, which is a high number. And Arizona Charlie's has done different things. There's no games to play at Circa or D or Golden Gate better than 8-5 bonus, and the slot club is not friendly to that. So it's tough to find plays.
Well, for the low roller, as you say, the one, you just mentioned the Charlie's, Arizona Charlie's, Decatur, and Boulder.
Yes.
For the 25 cent and 50 cent, they've put in a bunch of great games. I don't know if you saw that, but they've got full pay deuces. They've got 10-7 double bonus. They have at least 4 schedules that are 100% plus optimal play. So they're going that route a little bit in a different direction. So I give them some credit for that.
Good. I was not aware of that. Good news. That's good news for the players. We came here to talk about the Super Bowl. So, Frank, when the Super Bowl props come out, first concept is like who gets the ball first. Why is that important?
Okay, well, who gets the ball first is most of the time it's not an issue because both teams understand that deferring historically is the optimal strategy. Sometimes you'll have coaches that go off the reservation and they are prone to take the ball. But over the last few years, almost every coach in the NFL defers, so it's not an issue. Years past, we did have some coaches that took the ball all the time, and what it would do is create a situation when it comes to the Super Bowl props where there'd be a mad rush to bet everything and anything that related to one team getting the ball first. Everything from who will receive the opening kickoff, who's going to score first, what team will cross the 50-yard line first, all those things, and a whole additional list of others are all tied into who gets the ball first. Now, like I said, that hasn't been much of an issue in years past, But this year, it might be a case where Tampa Bay is more likely to get the ball first. And there are a lot of sharp guys. There's a segment of the sharp community that believes that and have been betting it. And the reason being is that Bruce Arians, along with his no risk it, no biscuit philosophy lately, he's one of those coaches that will take the ball from time to time. Now, over the last couple of years, he's deferred the majority of the time. But coming into the postseason, the last two decisions that he made when he won the toss was to take the ball. Now, that's only we're talking 3-4 games ago. We're talking at the end of the regular season. In the postseason, he hasn't won a toss. So the most recent decisions that he's made have been to take the ball, and that's caused a flurry of betting on things related to Tampa Bay getting the ball first. I have a little bit of a quandary there when it comes to that. I'm not in the camp that is as sold on them taking the ball as others. Also, there is a Tom Brady type of angle that exists that suggests scoring will be very lean for the Buccaneers early in the game. I don't know if you got, the last time they were in the Super Bowl was, against the Rams, and they made a very big deal about the fact that in the 8 previous Super Bowls that Brady and Belichick had participated in, they had scored exactly 0 points. 0.0. And
in the first quarter, or
in the first quarter, Patriots under Belichick, quarterback by Brady, scored 0 points in the first quarter in all 8 Super Bowls. It's a real anomaly, and but people paid attention. Now in that game against the Rams, they got a field goal in the first quarter and broke that streak. But we're talking 9 games that Brady has quarterbacked, and with a grand total of 3 points scored. So for the people that are, hey, Tampa to score first, that's a little bit of ammunition for those that say maybe it is not such a great thing, and maybe the type of props that you take a look at are the ones that are attached to futility. Like, will there be a score? I happen to like, will there be a score in the first 5.5, or 6 minutes at the right price? And you bet the no there. I also happen to think that taking Tampa Bay to punt first, which is a prop that's generally not available during the regular season, but it is available at Super Bowl time. All these bets, actually the time score hasn't really been hit very hard, but the other ones have been played a little bit. And they, along with others that will be added by the offshores in the coming week, they can be found, and they correlate directly to Tampa Bay getting the ball. So, like I said, I'm not one that is really bullish or bearish on one side or the other, but it's out there, and for some people that subscribe to one of those theories, they may want to take a look at getting things that have to do with Tampa Bay doing things first.
Very good. We're going to ask Frank about what the anti-public is immediately after we take a commercial break. The South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning more than 99%. This is more than anyone else has. The promotion in February is free play with a kicker. For players already receiving free play, they pick up their normal amounts Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And if they do, they'll receive the same amount on Friday or Saturday. Make all 8 pickups, and on Monday, March 1st, you received a double-sized mailer amount. On President's Day, there's a $30,000 hot seat promotion where every 3 minutes between 8 a.m. and midnight, some player with his card inserted who has played at least $1 in the previous minute will earn $100 in free play. At predicted.org, there's a market where you can place small bets on the occurrence of various political happenings, mostly, but not entirely in the United States. The election is over. The bets now have to do with the number of Senate votes to convict Trump, who various cabinet members are going to be, when people will declare for the 2024 presidential election. Our listeners receive a one-time offer of a deposit match up to $20 at predicted.org/promo/edge. You must play the money through once and cannot withdraw it for 30 days. BlackjackApprenticeship.com is an excellent site for those of you who wish to be successful at card counting. The primary value of the membership is the video course, training suite, members forum, pro betting software, casino database, result tracking software, and members-only podcast with the members-only chat room. A free video posted on YouTube.com recently is on how much money you should take to the casino. Colin Jones does a nice job of breaking this down for most players, although it is fairly elementary. The best use of these videos is to figure out if you can learn from Colin's teaching style. If you can, and counting at blackjack is what you want to do, I strongly remember signing up for the membership. The videos behind the paywall go into things at a much higher level, and you can become very good very fast. Videopoker.com is the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on most of the game. The game of the week is Hot Roll Poker. This is a 10 coins per line game where one time in 6 you get a multiplier. The value of this multiplier is determined by a pair of fair virtual dice. If the dice rolled a 2 and a 5, for example, you receive 7x for the time, for the hand. Multiplier sometimes comes on the deal, sometimes on the draw, but not both. There are no strategy variations for the game compared to the base game, and the hot roll feature is exactly even money, meaning the dice roll adds no EV, but does add variance. All right, we're back to Frank B. and Anthony Curtis talking about Super Bowl prop bets. So, Frank, what is the anti-public?
Well, we were using that term because this show is going to basically air, and then you only have the final few days before the game is played to get your bets in, and that's when the public gets involved. To try to take advantage of some of the lopsidedness that the public will present when they get in there and they start betting. You want to get a hold on what is a line that looks like it's getting out of hand, like they're getting out of hand with it because they're either enamored with a player or they've been touted that a certain prop or direction is the way to go. And the way to handle that, I think, is to first off, a lot of it is about shopping and getting the number and noticing how things are moving. So I think the first thing you should do is get down your control books, because these are the ones that you're going to use as a barometer of what the sharp line really is. Because the places that take bigger money, bigger bets, like Chris, like Circa, like Westgate, those are the ones that are going to have lines that won't get too far out of whack, because the sharper guys will come in and take it down because they can bet enough to make a difference. So I would say get that down first so that you have something to refer to, these books to refer to, so that when you see a line, you say, wow, they're really going to town on Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce. You can compare what you're presented with by either your offshore or your U.S. book and say, how off is it from what I consider to be a sharp line? And if it's getting out of hand enough, you'll see a difference there, and say, okay, this is one I think I'm going to side with the books that I trust and their line, and I'm going to make a bet in the opposite direction that the public are hitting. These popular bets and popular players. So that's pretty much what I mean. It's in the same ballpark as the safety bet. How that's every year, which is kind of looking like it's jumping the shark. People aren't really all that interested in that. But it's in the same realm as that. Is that the public is going to bet one side, and you can predict which one that is. It's either the one that's favorable to a marquee player, or in the case of the safety, it's just they want the payoff and they don't want to have to lay a price. So, and in addition to that, when it comes this weekend, there's going to be news coming out about some players and their health. Two of them that will affect not only their props, which are up, but other peripheral players that are affected by them are Antonio Brown on the Buccaneers, so you want to keep an eye on him. And if it says that, like, for whatever reason they downgrade him or upgrade him, you react accordingly to the receivers around him that he shares time with. Which I think the most applicable one is Scotty Miller on Tampa Bay, and then on the Kansas City side, you have Sammy Watkins. Didn't play in the last playoff game. It looks like he's heading towards playing, but if he doesn't play, that keeps McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson. Their numbers are a little more accurate. But if he does play, if he does play, they're going to have to give up some opportunities to him because he gets targets, and there's only so many targets to go around during the course of a game. So keep an eye on those, and if when one thing happens, maybe you can react by hitting something that is related to it.
Do you see any significant probability that Kansas City will take Scotty Miller out of the game by double covering and stuff after he's run his mouth pretty good about how good he was compared to Tyreek Hill?
No, I don't think they care with a guy who averages 1.5 catches a game, even when Antonio Brown's gone. Listen, guys spout off. It's no big deal. I'm not going to change what they do or how they handle covering him. Scotty Miller's not going to get double teamed. Another area, though, that this weekend I think is worth looking at is the Tampa Bay defense against the pass is very it's not going to call it quirky, but they give up a lot of passing completions. They give up a high completion percentage, but it's a lot of small stuff. I mean, they rank number 31 in pass attempts per game against them. In other words, only one team is passed against more than Tampa Bay. They rank 31 in opponent completions per game. But the average catch is small. They're number 6 in yards per pass attempt, which means that the opponents get a lot of completions, but they're shorter than average. So what does that relate to? The best prop that would correlate to that you can find a lot of are, they have one that asks, what will the length of the first reception be for the various receivers? So if you go down the Kansas City list and you say, okay, Kelsey first reception, Tyreek Hill first reception, maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire first reception, those, I believe, are going to be ones that are going to have some value if they haven't been already hit and juiced under. So it's something else I'm going to look for this weekend, and it's a kind of a secondary type prop that be able to find and get down some action on.
Cross sports, where you can bet some player in the basketball player versus the game. LeBron James isn't playing that day, which is bad for Super Bowl betting because he's always in the cross sport betting. Are there any cross sport bets that are good?
Well, listen, Bob, there's a lot of them that are good. Each one takes a lot of extra time to dissect. So, okay, so there's a couple peculiarities when it comes to cross sport props and the way that they post them. So each place sort of makes up their own. They may use a template that will have a general idea of how a prop they want to construct it, but you'll get the same general list from Westgate every year. You get the same general list from William Hill, and then when you go to the offshores, the same applies there. The one thing about the cross sports and the timing of their releases, when it comes to Super Bowl stuff, where usually offshore are the ones that put stuff up first. In the Super Bowl, it's the opposite. It's Vegas that puts things up first. So the offshores, with all the huge menu that they have to deal with, oftentimes will copy the Vegas sheets for the cross sports because they're just a big pain to make. You're making them, you got to whip them up, out of your imagination and the other activities that are taking place over the course of that weekend that you can marry them to. So what they do is they'll just copy them, and the way that they copy them is they go online and they grab the sheets that they have available to them from Westgate, from any of the places that post them, South Point, and they use those opening numbers. So what you end up with the case offshore is a little bit of turning back the clock. So if something has been hit hard or moderately in Vegas, and the numbers are now different and no longer bettable, well, what comes Thursday, Friday, Saturday offshore, you may see a lot of those cross-sport props in the same exact order that you see them on sheets in Vegas, but with the original numbers. So that's one big advantage of concentrating on and paying attention to the cross-sport market, is you may get a second shot at stuff you missed the first time around, and some of it can be real good. So I guess me and Anthony, we're going to talk about one that we were able to get down on. And like I said, this one may return, and it may be out there again at the comparable to opening numbers.
Because it's moved from what we...
Yeah, it's moved a lot because thanks to us and probably a handful of other guys that noticed it. And it's not an error either. It's just a difference in methodology in making the line for these things. And it involves I think the original one was at William Hill. Yeah, it's a William Hill prop, and it has to do with the Phoenix Suns total points that they score against Boston on Sunday, in the NBA game, and they pit that against the Kansas City Chiefs rush yards. Now, the difference in the methodology for making the line for them is on the Kansas City rush part. For the Suns total, it's just basically the Suns team total. I made it 109.5. I have a friend who made it a little higher due to Devin Booker situation there. But, let's call it 110. Now, the Chiefs average 113 rush yards a game through the course of the season. So you would think that, superficially, you could just go, okay, Chiefs are 113, Suns are 110. It's close to a pick, It'll be one or the other minus a little bit. And that's what they posted. They posted the Suns minus a half against the Chiefs. The problem with that is that they used the average for the Chiefs, and they didn't pay attention to let's say making the line in an opponent dependent way. So they're going against Tampa Bay, who is the number one team in the league against the rush by a decent margin. They only allow 81 rush yards a game, and the Chiefs have a backfield that is not exactly healthy right now, nor do they have an offensive line that is all that healthy. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's coming off an injury. They have Darrell Williams, which I had this discussion with somebody recently when I was talking about this, is not to be confused with Damian Williams, who was you could say he should have been the MVP of the Super Bowl last year. Different D. Williams, okay? And then they have an injured Le'Veon Bell, who may or may not play. They're not that stacked in the backfield. You got Mahomes is a little off with the ankle. He'll probably be okay. That's my opinion. But the right number for this is in the 80s, not 113. So whoever made this prop used the average instead of going maybe to the next step and saying who they're going against and is there something about it that is going to cause me to make a significant adjustment. So I made the line 25.5 on this, and they hung minus a half. Clearly a good bet, in my opinion. So we went to town and we started betting it, and in the most, let's just say the most efficient way possible, and we were able to get a good deal down on it. It has subsequently moved from, what did it move to?
5.5. It went to minus 5.5.
Okay. After day one, it was 5.5. After day two, it was 13.5. And now this morning, it was 15.5. So it went from minus a half to minus 15.5. And
it's still a good bet.
It's right. Even exactly. Even at 15.5, it's 10 points off of my number. And on any random day, I would be thrilled to go for that. I'll take that all day long. But given the fact that we may get another shot at the original number when the offshores go up, we're going to just hang on to what we have.
Make the point where the rushing yards number is at right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, so it's confirmation that the line is should be 84.5. Westgate right now I think is dealing 83.5 Chiefs total rush yards. So literally you could go bet the Suns at William Hill and just turn around and go over to Westgate and buy it back if you wanted to, if you were so inclined. There's another place that hung at 84.5. So listen, the market is stable on the Chiefs rush yards, and it says it should be 84. And I agree with that. So that one was off by 25 points at the open, and it's still off by 10 points. And that's just sitting out there right now. A lot of guys have, I guarantee you, William Hill has written a ton of tickets one way and probably not one the other. And they still have it up. So
the point being from earlier, this might show up again at the starting numbers offshore. It's a possibility for people who have those kinds of outs. They want to take a look at that when those numbers come up.
So keep your ammunition dry.
Yep.
You briefly mentioned Patrick Mahomes had an ankle problem, but you thought he was going to be fine. How is his rushing yard prop? What's the smart way to go after that?
Well, okay, so a little history on this one is because last year, Patrick Mahomes' rush yard prop was the most talked about result after the Super Bowl because the market opened in the mid-20s for him, 25.5, 26.5. It got bet up. I saw as high as 37.5, and I actually had that under. And so it moved a lot, and that was based on his postseason performance to that point. The previous two games, I believe he had 56 yards rushing in both. So the market said, okay, he's running, it's playoffs. These are do or die games. So he's not playing it safe and throwing the ball away in a shaky situation. He's going to run if possible and try and gain some yards. But what happened, he was sitting, I don't know exactly the number he was sitting at the end of the game. Basically, the game was over. It was around 40 rush yards he had. Everybody who got over was happy. And now it comes time for the kneel downs. So the standard kneel down for a quarterback is he takes the ball, takes a step back, kneels down. You got a 1 yard loss. And even if he did it 3 times, he's only going backward 3 yards. Everybody's still going to win. Well, he didn't do that. And for whatever reason, he started backing up 4 or 5 yards for each one. And he ended up going from 40, 41, I think, down to 29, right through everyone's overs and turned basically the vast majority of bets from winners for the over to winners from the under. It's one of the rare ones that I got lucky on, so I acknowledge it. But that is perhaps something that's in the back of people's heads when it comes to this prop. I don't think it should be, but this year's number opened a lot lower. There's valid reasons for it. I mean, primarily the ankle injury. I take it back. It's not an ankle. It's a turf toe injury, which is one of those things that linger. But he's got a foot injury that he's been dealing with. But it opened as low as 19.5. There was one book that opened 30.5. It got clobbered down to the low 20s. But generally, the line has settled at 21.5, 20.5, maybe Westgate, I believe that's 22.5, and a market low of 19.5 at DraftKings. And I believe that the over is a good bet here because when you go to handicap these props, just like the previous example we were talking about with the Kansas City rush yards, if you can go to the next level with it and say, well, let me see if I can find something about it that would cause me to not roll with the average in this case. Patrick Mahomes, I tried to do that with him. I sorted through the game and looked for games where I threw out games that were big blowouts and that there would never be a question for him, like, do I really need to get risky here and try a run? So, like, you had 5 of those games between now and the last postseason where they were just runaways. There's no reason for him to start doing goofy stuff. So when you throw those out and you just take a look at the other more competitive second half games, you're left with 13. And of those 13, 9 of them, he exceeded the number that's posted out there, the prevailing consensus number. And this is the Super Bowl coming up. It's most likely going to be a competitive game, and it is a do or die situation. And he's had 2 weeks to rest that foot. So I am thinking that the market has gone overboard on this, betting him on or betting this number down. And I got down at over 19.5 minus 12 at DraftKings. And like I said, nine out of the last 13 have he's gotten 21 or more, and in a competitive game situation. So I think that's the important point there. And so that's one of a rare over that I advocate is Patrick Mahomes rush yards in the very low, as low as you can get, you can still get 19.5 at DraftKings.
Very good. Anthony, Super Bowl parties in Vegas, are they still happening?
Yeah, they're definitely gonna be happening. But there's certainly a pall over this to some degree. I saw something in the paper the other day. It said Super Bowl or super spreader, that sort of thing. So, this goes back to what we talked about earlier about how the casinos are reacting and what's going on during the pandemic. They're trying to be as normal as they can be, but they can't. They can't be normal because they are under too much political pressure for appearances. And anybody who goes into a casino, they're going to notice how, I use the word militant sometimes and people get mad at me going, you're saying people shouldn't wear masks. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that those who don't, or if you don't for a split second in a casino, they're really all over you. The reason for that is that they're afraid for their license being in jeopardy if they're thought to be, to look like they are being lax on COVID precautions. So these parties, in air quotes, are not going to be what they've been in the past. They're going to be harder to get into. The prices have been, for anybody who would go to a casino party where they're not an invited guest, and that's another thing. Invited guests will be invited, but there'll be a cutoff point, much higher on the list than there were in the past. So if you're a mid-range player, you may not get the same invitations that you've gotten in the past. For those that are pay parties, both in and out of casinos, the prices are quite high. For the same reason, they don't want as many people attending because of capacity restrictions. So yeah, I was surprised by the number of parties that have declared already. There's a lot of them in all the different casinos, but there was nothing as I looked through them where I go, wow, here's a really good one that I would recommend. Most people are going to go and they're going to watch these games in the sports books, or they're going to watch them in bars or at bars in the casinos. And there too, you're going to come up and run up against the capacity restrictions, which is what we're seeing everywhere. But the rule of thumb has been, since the pandemic started and things closed and reopened, that it's much more difficult to have a normal experience and have fun in terms of what people would consider fun, being a little bit more loose in regulations. It's a lot more difficult in the casinos than it is outside. The bars are much more relaxed, and they're also worried for their licenses, so you can't go crazy there, and they enforce restrictions too. But there are going to be some places that you're not going to be able to get into. So anybody who wants to do something for the party scene has got to make their plans and reservations. If they'll be taken, you got to do those really early, or you could be running around trying to find a place to light and watch this thing.
Very good. At the end of our show, we typically get into recommended, where Richard and sometimes me tell us something that we've come across recently. Now we're going to take a little bit more time than usual because we have 4 people here rather than just 2. So, Richard, what do you have for recommended for our people today?
So my recommended this week is I've talked about a podcast before called Planet Money. The episode this week was, I thought, particularly good. It is called Can't Stop the GameStop, and a lot of people have been hearing about this craziness that went on with the GameStop stock. And Planet Money did a really, really good job of laying out exactly what happened and why it happened. And so anyway, if anybody has any interest, if you've been hearing about this, what's going on with the GameStop stock, boy, that's hard to say. Check out this episode, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard to say once. It's just hard to say twice. I'm actually reading a novel now, Ken Follett's The Evening and the Morning. This is set in just before the year 1000 in England in the Dark Ages. It's a time that nobody ever writes about. His bestseller was called The Pillars of the Earth, which is set a couple of years about the building of a big cathedral in the year 1200. So that's set 200 years later. And so I'm immersed now in a world that I basically knew nothing about. It's interesting. It's different. And I'm enjoying it. Most of my reading is casino stuff or related for this show. But I'm taking the time now for a pleasure reading, and I'm enjoying The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett. Anthony, do you have any recommended for us?
Wow, I don't know if I've got anything that can satisfy your mind like that, Bob. Jeez. I mean, I'm going to do something really base here, and I'm going to just talk about a way to save money. And
what a concept.
On gas, saving money on gas. And I'll give a little plug in for what we're doing. We've started the LVA YouTube channel. And this is just because for years and years I was on TV, and being on TV, Travel Channel and so forth, was a really good marketing tool for us. Well, that hasn't happened, for quite a while. Travel Channel stopped covering Vegas. The TV marketing for us sort of dried up. And we looked around and we said, okay, how do we do TV again? The way we do TV is with YouTube. That's the new TV. So we've started a YouTube channel. We've only got about 6. You can just go to YouTube and search Las Vegas Advisor and you can find it. But we've only got about 6 or 7 videos up right now. But one of them we did was the best gas price in Las Vegas. And amazingly, this is a pretty reliable play, and everybody wants to save on gas, whether you live here or whether you've flown here and you've got a rental car, whatever it is. And it's called the Wild Wild West truck stop. I didn't even know about it until a few months ago, and somebody told me about it, and I started checking it out. And
is this King 8?
Reliable. Did I say King 8?
No, you did not say King 8. Is this the old King 8? Is that what we're talking about?
You're showing your age, Bob.
Well, I might.
The Wild Wild West used to be the King 8.
Bob remembers when it used to be called the King 6.
And I mean, it's owned by the Wild Wild West, and the truckers go there. And the price on here is 40 to 50 cents less than the market price consistently. I mean, I went the other day, and it was $2.80. Gas was $2.80 everywhere, and it was $2.35 at this truck stop. And it's easy to get to. If you're on the strip, you go west, past the Wild Wild West, one street to Procyon, Procyon. You make a right, and you can see it up there. And there's a couple of hoops you got to jump through in that you have to go inside to pay. It only has 87 octane. So, those who need the better gas, it's not going to work for them. But for most people, it's an unbelievable place. So you're going to save, let's say you're saving 40 cents and you've got a 20-gallon tank. It's an $8 savings every single time you do it. Plus, you get to watch the show when you go in there, because that's where all the hookers kind of walk around in the morning. So you can kind of get a little show in and out as you're going. You don't have to partake, but you can get that as well. But that's it. It's the Wild Wild West truck stop for gas.
And if you were afraid of getting COVID, you definitely don't want to go near those girls. You'll get something much worse.
I don't know. Is $8 enough to do you any good with the hookers?
No, but it's kind of fun. If you get, I got lined up behind the truck the other day leaving, and a girl came right to my window, and how you doing? What's up? And so I asked her, what's the going price? She said, she winked and smiled. She said 100. I said, okay, talk to you later.
Nice round number.
I didn't ask what 100 for, but
for a better description of where that is for people not that familiar with Vegas geography, it's at Tropicana and the 15. It's just west of the 15 at Tropicana. So that's where the Wild Wild West. Frank, do you have any recommended for us today?
Well, Anthony and I visited a bar last night. It was the first time for me, and it was a pretty cool locals place. But I forgot something pretty important that I wanted to point out about when you're shopping for lines, and it's real brief, is to be aware and sensitive to the straddle that you're looking at, because you're going to encounter a lot of different ones, especially when you get offshore. And understanding that when you lay $1.10, the house edge against you is 4.54%, and you're going to see a lot of props at 115, and that ups the house edge to 6.5%. And offshore, and even in Vegas, sometimes you see minus 120, pretty extreme, and that ups it to 8.33%. So you got to be aware that the vig matters and the straddle matters, and the more they're going to charge you for a bet, the higher your criteria has got to be to make that bet. So, okay, I'll let it go at that. Last night we went to a place called Mr. D's. Is it a Buffalo Bills bar?
No, it's a Dallas.
Oh, it's the second time I did that.
Yeah, it's a Dallas Cowboys. D's, Dallas, Mr. D's, yeah, okay. All of that.
And it's on Rainbow
and Oki.
And Anthony brought us there because they have very not advantageous, but superior pay scales to your average bar, along with
for video poker.
Yeah, along with great food. I'll let him tell you about the steak that he had, but on all around the bar they have 975 double bonus, which is 99.1.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's pretty good for a bar. You don't see, so if you get any kind of promotions or you're just drinking the good stuff, it's not the worst thing you could be doing to while away the time. The girls there that bartend, they're in what would you call those outfits?
I call them bikinis.
Okay. And it's just a cool old school place. That's a lot of bikers apparently go there. I saw a lot of that type of memorabilia on the walls and some bikes outside. And Anthony got himself a monster of a steak at a really good price. So let him...
$13 on Thursdays and Sundays. They have a ribeye special for $13. It's excellent. And on Mondays and Tuesdays, they've got probably the best dollar tacos in town. Unbelievable. They make their own tortillas right there. 2 tacos will do you, so you're eating for $2. And don't be afraid by that biker thing. These are the domesticated bikers. They're like accountants by day and they ride their choppers at night. So, this is not a rowdy bar. This is a cool bar with some pretty good looking girls and about the best video poker you're going to find outside of a progressive in a bar with good food.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Richard. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.